Do you have too many toys? Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. I'm your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I am joined by the founder of the NECA Illuminati, the delayer of shipments, the procrastinator of pre-orders, the perfect person, my YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar _ Games. But that's not all. I'm also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over. The man Optimus Prime popped and he refuses to stop. The Twilight Knight, the Master of Mac, the 3-pump jump of taking the show off the rails, Nate.
I have one question. Can being the perfect person, is that a championship that I can challenge?
Well, we talked about this like a week or two ago, because every time we have any sort of thing where it's like a negative like trait, Jarmar doesn't have it, so he's the perfect person.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I just forgot to add it last week, so I'm
No. I feel like you're bringing it up just because of this episode.
I mean, this is fair. This episode's gonna be like, I want you guys to talk about. I've got all sorts of room, and as he's got like a stack of NECA figures that are unopened next to him.
Also, I'd like to also think or believe that it was a Freudian slip, where he didn't mean to say perfect person, but he just knew in his heart,
but deep down inside.
And he just says,
no, the slip was when I went to say the procrastinator pre-orders, and I almost said the perfect or the procrastinator perfect person. There's too many P's in your titles. Anyway, so the whole reason we are here is one of our lovely Patreon members was kind enough to suggest this topic, and the topic is, when do you know if you have too many toys? Because this is a problem I feel like everyone except for Jarmar runs into, where you eventually are like, what am I doing? Like, I have no room, I have no money, like, you got to make some choices. So I thought it was a good topic to kind of discuss, and I'm kind of curious because I know Nate has made some life choices recently. I know Jarmar is probably gonna be a hoarder at one time. But yeah, so what are your guys' opinions on it? Like, where do you stand? Like, how do you know when you have too much? And and from there, like, what are you gonna do?
Who wants to go first?
Not everyone at once.
All right.
You go first, Jarmar.
No, you go. No, I mean, honestly, this is pretty easy for me because I'm just loads of space. I don't care. I'm just gonna keep buying everything. Actually, no. Like, in all seriousness, this is something that I keep thinking about. Ever since I had my original Turtle Room years ago. No one of watching the show would ever recall that unless you look up some YouTube videos that I had online. And I felt like that was the perfect setup. I had like everything displayed, nothing in boxes. And then NECA kind of like got really heavy. And since then, things have been a little bit different. But then when I moved, I left stuff in boxes and I only had like NECA stuff out. And then that became too much. And then when I finally moved into my home, now I have a mixture of both. So like, I have too much stuff. All of the Playmates, like villains and stuff that I kind of bring up occasionally, are in a giant box in my closet. And it makes me feel guilty every time we go to the toy show and I see these selling for like $70 loose and $80. And I'm like, they're literally just sitting in a box underneath other boxes. It's kind of like gross and sad. And then I'm still buying more things. So I think you realize you have too much stuff when you look and you see like all boxes. But if you're an inbox collector, I don't know how you.
Oh man, that's a whole nother conundrum.
That would be hard. Because for me personally, long story short, it's when I look at it and I see that I'm opening less and less things, and that's when I realize I have too many things. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I would actually hope that you guys would have a solution that will help me. Because I don't want to get rid of stuff. So,
I mean, Nate, do you want to tell him the solution, or should I? Because I feel like it's obvious, and he's just like,
buy a new house.
Well, that helps.
I need more rooms.
Yeah. So I want to take you back. I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year. there was a Transformers. I think it was it would have been for War for Cybertron Kingdom, and it was Tarantulas. It came out as part of the Beast Wars, and I was getting the Beast Wars ones, and I was starting to freak out because I missed Tarantulas. I didn't know what happened. Usually I find stuff in stores, and I couldn't find it, and I started putting out the call to people I knew. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this. I need this figure. I got to complete my set. Then like one day I was downstairs doing some stuff, doing some laundry. I don't know. I turned around. There it was. I had it. I've had it forever. It was out of the box. It was set up on display. I didn't miss it. And at that point I was like, oh, this is a problem. And ever since then, things have gotten slightly better. So anybody who's been watching the show, anybody who's been paying attention, has known that like my stuff has kind of been boxed over the last several years. We had a lot of extensive work done. And I'm just now getting a chance to, get some stuff out. Ironically enough, I did have another shelf built and a new display going. It just wasn't ready for being on tonight. So I opted to wait until next week to show off the new shelf. But, as I'm getting this stuff up and it's coming out of boxes and it's coming out of bins and things like that, one, I'm realizing that, yes, I have way too much, but I don't have nearly as much as I did. And that is relieving in a certain amount. Because I've got things mapped out, and my wife would just be gleeful to know that I'm giving her full credit. Her setup and her way of helping me get all this stuff organized. I did not enjoy it. If you've seen an episode of Hoarders before, you know that hoarder people get agitated and they snap at people, and they may say things they don't mean. And
did you yell at your wife about your toys?
Oh, I not yell. Just I got like
sternly talked to.
I got upset, because I'm just, you're touching my stuff and
they're your babies.
Right. And instead of like a plastic bag full of other plastic bags, possibly with a smushed kitty in the bottom, they were just boxes and bins of figures and stuff like that. So it was still very agitating. But it is correct. It was the right way to go, because now as I'm getting the shelves up, stuff's just going up, bam, bam, bam. It's clearing up space. So that's the other danger, is I'm starting to like discover, ooh, I've got more space here than I think. Well, can I feel that way?
Right. I need
more tarantulas.
Wait,
yeah, right. I almost ended up with several.
Not too much.
But
and now I have not enough.
But like doing that, it does make you realize, one, that you may have too much, but it also then you have to start making some choices. And I think we as collectors make choices depending on what we're into. And Jarmar brings up a fantastic point. So he originally had his vintage turtles, and then NECA comes along. And all of a sudden, NECA is making, for the most part, some of the same characters that you already had. And then Super 7 is making the same characters you already had, and you're buying more and more and more. Right. I am only doing, modern Transformers, right, of the G1 iterations. But there's already been a couple of them that I have that have already, within the last span of because I think I've been buying them for almost 4 years.
Has it been?
Almost.
Have we been recording that long? Because I feel like
this is gonna be year 4 for us.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We just had our 3rd year anniversary, so this is year 4 for us.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah. And so I've already seen several of them get remade, like new versions and better versions of figures I already have. And I think back to people like Corey, who R.I.P. Not him, but the show.
I was like, oh my god, that Corey died. What, did he listen to the Figuratively Speaking episode on Patreon?
Oh no, don't say that.
No, the podcast RIP. He's after every time they remake a new Marvel Legend, and he gets basically every remake of any 80s figure, but then he parts with the vintage version. But he's still constantly replacing. I mean, how many times is he going to replace certain characters in different scales and things like that? I mean, we're seeing it with G.I. Joe Classified. People who I didn't buy all the 25th anniversary figures. In fact, I was actually not as balls deep into 25th anniversary as you might think. But there were those people who were rebuying all those characters to remake their youth, and now they're doing it with classified. And that's part of it right there. Was when you realize you have too many because you've bought the same character over and over and over again. I mean, and look at Star Wars. I certainly had to make some choices when it came to Star Wars, and luckily, Vintage Collection was the one that I went with, because it's numbered and it made more sense to buy them carded and things like that. But I was also getting Black Series at one time, and that's just too much. It's too much. And when you can't enjoy them, that is where it ultimately falls apart too. So, I've lived both of that, not getting to enjoy them because they're in a bin or a box or something like that. Or now the rediscovery, sometimes literally, because I'll pick something out and be like, oh, I didn't know I had this. And getting to, set these things up. Because, as adult collectors, we either set things up for display or we set things up for photography. That's our way of playing with them. We don't really get down on the floor like most of us can't because of our knees and our backs.
We ain't getting back up.
I didn't say I got back up, but I was like, speak for yourself.
If I'm on the floor in the toy room here, it's because I'm having a heart attack.
It's because you lost your life alert.
Call 911.
So we're still having that fun, and I would definitely. This is the thing. Like I have way too many, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I mean, now you'll have seen OnlyFans from last week. I got 11 new figures this week on a week that I was not thinking I was going to get any.
Who were watching?
Last week's OnlyFigs.
Okay, you said OnlyFans, so it's like, did you doing something on the side that we don't know about?
Click my name, whichever one you want.
Link in the bio. I mean, Michael, it's no surprise for you, your answer, because we know what you do. So,
ouch.
I mean,
okay, no, I don't want this to be an attack, Michael.
No, it's not.
Because one, there's a time and a place for that, and the time is usually every other time, but not right now.
Or at least OnlyFigs every Wednesday.
Right.
That's the show you bully me on, not this one.
Yeah. I am curious, like, do you have, like, is it like a space limit, or is it an amount limit, or what? Because you do seem to reach a point where you get a bunch of stuff and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, is it because you can't store? Or at least you don't store things. You typically don't like to put things in storage.
So it's a number of things. So my number one rule is I don't like if it's not on display and I'm not enjoying it and it's put in a box in a closet somewhere, then why do I have it? That's my number one rule.
It's valid.
Because I look at it as I buy these things to, like you said, display them, take pictures, play with them on the floor, what have you. So if
put them up your butt.
That took a turn.
Whatever you want to do.
Every Thursday.
That's on Nate's OnlyFans.
Every Thursday.
The link is over here.
Thursday at 10. Yeah.
So that's the number one rule is if it's not being displayed or used in some way, shape, or form. Because I have which side is it on? Nope, this side. Like there's a little cart back here that has a lot of the stuff I use for photos, like some of the civilian characters, the Valorverse figures, stuff like that. Stuff that like I'm not going to put on the shelf. It's literally because I want to use it for photos. And then I have an entire shelf full of all the diorama pieces and accessories and stuff like that as well, which ironically is taller than my shelves that I display things on. But yeah, so that's rule number one. The other rule, and especially because with having the channel and having to feed the machine constantly, I have to, stay relevant with the reviews and things. So it also comes at a cost limit where I have to to keep up. It's like, okay, well, in order to get this new thing, I have to get rid of something else because I can't afford to, really just go indulge as much as I did when I was in Arizona and I had the job at Michael's, which was draining the life out of me and was making decent money. I mean, realistically, like if I would have stayed there, I wouldn't have been able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment on a manager salary, which is kind of absurd. But ultimately, I've been able to make this channel into something bigger since then, and taking a step back. So it's worth it and rewarding in a different way. So it doesn't hurt as much when it's like, well, I don't necessarily want to get rid of this, but in order to get this other thing, so that way I can keep the channel going, I have to. And then eventually, maybe one day, if I really, really want it, I'll get it again, kind of thing. Which, if you watch last week's OnlyFigs, there were some things that I did a trade for to get some stuff that I got rid of that I didn't want to get rid of. So you'll have to, if you didn't watch it, then go back and watch it. But yeah, so number one rule is essentially space. And eventually, maybe I'll have a bigger space, which will allow for displays that aren't, like right now, this behind me is pretty much the only display space I have, because I have over on this side is where I store all the stuff for the dioramas for the photos and reviews and stuff. And then this side, I have a desk set up with my camera and the lights and everything for the reviews. And then my desk is here. There's a wall on that side with a closet that I keep all the empty boxes in. And because that's a whole different fucking problem we have. And then just the shelves back here are the only things that are like displayed. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a bunch of stuff sitting on the review table constantly where it's just like, I haven't figured out where I'm gonna put it in the display, or I'm still actively playing with it. Like, I still have the turtles, the Lawson 4-pack. They're still sitting over there because I still am fucking around from posing. I'm thinking of new pictures I want to take. So I'm just like, I'm not going to put them on the shelf yet because I don't want to have to take them back off. But yeah, so that's the long and short of it, is just space and then also funds. With my new job will allow me to make it a little more one-sided, where it's more about space and less about funds, which will be nice. Without taking up too much time away from being able to make this into something bigger. But yeah, as you mentioned, I recycle things. I sell them to put back into the collection. And Jarmar, unfortunately, that's the answer to your question from earlier, is that is the next step, is if you have things that are just sitting in a closet and you feel guilty about it because you're like, I'm not enjoying these and they're worth this money to the point where someone else would. Like, that's a sign.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, look at this way. So a month or so ago, I made the decision that I was going to part ways with my Batcave that I got commissioned a couple years ago. It's a beautiful piece. It's massive. I do not have room for it. I've taken out parts of it a couple times for some photos, but for the most part, it's sitting in the top of the closet. I finally managed to move it. I had someone make me an offer for some trades plus cash, and I was like, okay, I'm making out a little better than if it was straight cash, so I'll take it. And now it's going to a home where someone's going to enjoy it, and it's going to be on display, hopefully, versus with me where it wasn't. It was just sitting in a closet, like in pieces. So it's one of those things that's like, it like you said, you feel guilty about it because it's like someone else could be enjoying this, because I clearly am not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. It's just that my intentions when purchasing things, or even, I guess those are kind of so long ago now at this point that I didn't have like the same rule. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, if I'm getting this, I'm getting it to have.
But don't worry, I mean,
forever. So like,
every purchase I make,
it's a tough thing. Yeah,
90% of the purchases I make are getting it to have. Like, there's nothing that like I'm buying with the intention. Like, there's some impulse buying, and there's some stuff that I buy strictly because it's like, okay, this will probably perform well on the channel. But 90% of the purchases I make are because I want it. But sometimes you want other things more.
I can't make that choice yet. I'm not strong enough. What I need to do is just get rid of all of my old boxes, which is probably an episode that we should do in the future. But I've
had that struggle.
Yeah, I need to just let them go, because one, if I don't have the intentions on selling them, what's the point of having the boxes? But also, I know this is a joke of the channel, but that's where all my accessories are. So like,
if you throw away all those boxes full of accessories, so help me God.
But
we'll have an episode that's an intervention for you.
An organization thing, and I need to just actually do it, and then I could clear up some more space. So then maybe that make me feel a little bit better.
Well,
but also I need to display everything.
You need the Michael's photo case.
Those are tremendous.
It's basically you get one big tub, and it's got a bunch of little. I think there's 24 per case, and they're little like square. Do I have one laying around here?
I remember one before. I was looking at a craft.
Yeah, I got one.
But it wasn't like perfect because some of the things. Okay.
Like this.
But how? See, I feel like that's too big.
No, because this.
Oh, that's not even what I'm talking about.
So, like, for reference, here's Donnie.
Put it towards your head.
Yeah, I was like, here's my biggest head. Here's Donnie.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, this is just it's meant for like 5x10 photos, but a lot of people in the collecting community were like, oh, this is great for accessories because you get, I'm pretty sure it's 24 of these inside one big container, and like container latches, and all of these individually latch. So you can just store them in that, and then it takes up even less space. Or you can do, I also have, like, for the accessories for the photos and stuff, I have actual craft cases that are like a case, and it's got like almost like a tackle box where like it's got all the
That's what I had saw before, and I almost pulled the whatever, almost bought it.
Pulled the trigger.
Pulled the trigger, and then I was like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal right now.
I'll tell you right now, for what you're doing, the photo cases are the better option, because those like tackle box style craft cases, the compartments are very small. So you fit a lot less, and especially with the NECA stuff, where some of the accessories get a little bigger. Your biggest issue with this is with it being thin. Maybe some things might not fit in it, but you can always figure out an alternative.
That could be a whole episode, because I'm just looking over across my room at all the different storage things I got going on. That could be a whole.
I'll put it on the list.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it gets pretty extensive up in here, so.
I feel it.
That's what I need, like some real, like, I joke about it, but I feel like I need we need an episode of, I don't know if everyone's watched the show, it's Queer Eye, where they come do your makeover.
You need us to come to your home and
I need to
organize your
like episode, like toy room, like edition.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to do that now. I kind of want to do me and you fix his accessory situation.
I need like, all right, let me just actually go and get the shelves so I can put the shit up. That's what it is. It's mostly that, but maybe that will make me feel better. And once I put those things up, then I won't have that feeling of needing to let go of some things. Or I won't feel like I have too much stuff, because everything will be in place. And then it'll be like, oh, I really don't have this much stuff, but I do. But it'll make me feel like I don't. Just like you said, Nate. Like, now you're like, look at all this extra space I have. I need to find something else to start collecting.
That's another thing, is so like my closet that had all my empty boxes, it was running out of space because I had the Batcave in the top. Now I have that empty spot up there, so I'm moving all the boxes up there. I'm like, oh man, I have so much room in here now. And I'm like, but I still don't want to store actual like figures and stuff in here, but like I have more room for boxes.
Yeah,
I was debating on moving the diorama shelf in there, but I'm like, I think it might not be tall enough, or like the closet might not be tall enough.
I know this is we're talking about displaying things now instead of when we have too much things, but I think that is kind of secretly what I'm holding out for, is like to get like see what the situation with NECA's like sewer set and Dio, so that way I can start to put these NECA figures into a display, because I don't want to just put them up. Before I had them like grouped by the sets, like each 4-pack and stuff, but I just need to get more creative of how I can display more things on one shelf instead of just having the natural, like, they're just all in a line standing here. You know?
Nate, I'm smelling a two-parter. We get to come over and fix his accessories, and then we get to help display his figures. I'm liking this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
KGB's gonna be like, why are they here and just throwing all your toys on the floor while they're rearranging everything?
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. The only things that are out of boxes are my Nindos and this stuff back here. That's that true. I have like 5 shelves down here that are just kind of like with boxes on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 shelves that just have. So it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So it actually makes me debate: do I have too much? But I think where I'm at, I'm in a good spot. I just need to like get it put in the right places. If that makes sense. The old Nate treatment is what I'd like to say. Now I'm coining that because that's what you did. You organized everything. Now, did you let it go of a lot of stuff? Because when you say your wife was doing the hoarder thing,
oh, did she do the does it bring you joy thing?
No,
yeah,
no, and I would do that for myself.
I mean, that's what I do. Like every like quarter, I do a purge of like,
Yeah.
does this bring you joy?
Yeah, I had already knew like I had to drop some brands basically, and
okay.
as much as I liked certain things, like it didn't fit, and I kind of like, because my wife was helping because I asked for help, and she was basically like,
not in that way.
What's your top? Yeah, she's like, what's your top 5? Like, and it was like, Star Wars, Dragon Ball, Ninja Turtles, Marvel, G.I. Joe, and she's like, okay,
I'm surprised that
go
Transformers wasn't on there.
Well, I mean, yeah, and there's more. Like it's just.
I was figured it'd be like Transformers before Turtles is what I was kind of surprised for, because Turtles you're pretty much like you've said that you're kind of spent on it, minus like the things that we convince you to buy.
Tune line.
Yeah. Well, there's not much going on with the movies, and like he's not like
that's fair.
He wasn't even gonna get the 4-pack until he saw us playing with it.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Who knows? But anyway. I had to like pare things down, and it was probably like 8, maybe not 5, maybe 8, 9, 10. I don't remember, but I did ahead of time. I mean, that was part of like when I was purging Marvel Legends, the comic ones, the Power Rangers. Besides the directly related to the Sentai ones, I liked. Black Series, things like that. It kind of going ahead of time, just realizing, there's too much stuff. Once I started like figuring out and planning where everything was going to go, certain things just didn't have space, just didn't have room for.
So then, there's something you did, like what lines did you cut?
I just said like Marvel Legends.
Okay, so wait, you're like, so you're talking about. I thought that like maybe there was something like new, like that you cut from this most recent round.
Not really, because I got it down to where I needed it to be.
Okay.
Pretty much. But that should also be saying like, a lot of my G.I. Joe stuff gets put away because I can't put it all out, and something like that, I'm not, some of that stuff I'm not going to part with because it comes from my childhood specifically. So that stuff, I don't care if it's worth $6 million and it's in a box. Well, maybe if it's worth more than that, but generally speaking, and I did part ways with a lot of my vintage stuff that I didn't have as a kid. I no longer needed to be a completionist on that line. So I kept mostly just favorite things that I had and things that were mine, and just maybe like really cool, figures that I got later on. But that's what's being kind of filled by the modern line.
All right.
Because there was definitely a time where I was more of a completionist on the vintage stuff, and I'm not at all anymore.
So I feel like there's not a whole lot that you're a completionist about, except for the vintage collection at this point, right?
Yeah. And that's not even like, I'm just getting, the numbered ones. There's 2 specific numbered ones I'll never get because they were part of an exclusive and they messed up by numbering them, which they shouldn't have done. And they were like mini cards anyway. So I'm not going to get those. Like they go for hundreds upon hundreds of dollars and they're stupid. Like they don't fit. So, I put my Razor Crest figures there in those 2 spots because that's 2 figures that don't really have a number. And so my head, I'm actually okay with that. Because again, if I paid all that money and they're dumb. I don't want them. They're just because they have a number. There are concessions I will make with myself.
That's impressive. Because like, I remember a point where like you were very much about the numbers. Like, that was like the number one thing. It's like, you put a number on it, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really the only major one where I'm just like, there's no, I'm not going to do it.
Just aside, because I don't remember the origin of this now, but is that why you lead the numbers game?
Oh my god!
OnlyFigs.
I mean,
I think that's his happenstance. Originally, like the whole reason he does the numbers game is because he saves the show because he always has something with it, even if we don't. So he's gonna go last no matter what. That's how he got that. But now it just has a whole new meaning.
It makes even more sense.
I do love
anything
numbers,
with a number. I'll do it.
I'm terrible with math, but I do love numbers. Like,
I'm sorry, did the financial advisor of the show just say he's bad with math?
You don't have to, you don't former, and you don't have to actually know how to do numbers. You have calculators and machines that do that for you.
That's true. That is very true. He said, "I don't know numbers, but I know money."
He's like, "I don't know numbers, but I know how to hit a button."
Yep.
Oh God. I've lost track where we are, but yeah. So, anything anyone wants to add? I'm choking to death. Hold on.
Do we have anything? Like on input.
We do.
Input.
We do.
Yes, input. Just read it before I have a stroke.
That's okay. I thought I muted and I didn't press the button hard enough. So sorry, all the listeners who just heard me cough aggressively.
Do you have a full keyboard? Do you have the insert, home, page up, all those buttons on your keyboard? So I think insert mutes Discord.
So here's
it's
the thing.
than using a microphone.
One, I have, if for whatever reason, if I click on Discord away from OBS, OBS doesn't record Discord for some reason.
Oh.
So
okay,
I don't think that'll work.
Don't do anything. Yeah. I just know I go to press
and that's just like a recent issue. Like a couple updates ago, it just started doing it because I noticed it one time before, because I always keep it up, and this is how I watch you guys anyway from like my end is through OBS. And I noticed like beforehand I was messing around with something. I was like, oh, why is it grayed out? I'm like, oh, it's because I clicked off of it. I'm like, well, make sure don't do that while we're recording. But yes, let's hear some Patreon.
Oh yeah, we've interrupted.
All right, so this is our good buddy, Sukumatant. So, excuse me 1 second. I want to get my voice ready because I will be doing this in a dramatic reading.
My voice definitely was not ready.
The problem is, at a certain point, even if you rotate what's on your shelves, at some point you have no space in your closets, and in your basement is too full of dead cats that you have to sell off parts of your collection. Collectors have been spoiled in recent years, seeing toys selling at a profit. But once the market is saturated and collectors as a whole lack space, the secondary market for toys crashes and there's less FOMO on new figures. And then the primary market crashes. Lots of collectors buy stuff they are on the fence about, because if they don't buy it now, it will be double or triple on eBay later. And if they decide not to keep it, they can resell it on eBay for a profit. When can they wait and buy a figure at retail in 6 months or even 2 years? They lose FOMO. Primary market sales drop. And now, less new toys are made. This philosophical discussion about one collector having too many toys results in a giant market reduction in all toys overall. Nate and I lived through the great comic book crash of the late 90s. Used to be like toys are today. Buy cool comics, sell at a profit later, FOMO not to miss anything. Until it all crashed. Collectors ran out of space for new comics and lost FOMO. Marvel Comics was on verge of bankruptcy, and Disney bought them for pennies on the dollar. Okay, first of all, I got to clarify. Marvel did go bankrupt, not on the verge.
Yeah.
Did go bankrupt. Happened in the 90s. Disney bought them like almost 20 years later.
Yeah. They didn't buy
for $4 billion.
Yeah,
so it's not really pennies.
They sold
on the
rights to Spider-Man and X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Hulk to keep the doors.
To keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So I did want to call that out. You also need to figure out a new word besides FOMO. I read it 5 times.
FOMO. The fear of missing out.
Yes.
It's
the fear of missing out on FOMO.
I will say he does make some good points there. I would also say already we've already seen the and we'll see it again last week. Now more than ever, toys are not selling for twice, 3 times. They're selling for less. They're selling for less. So they're going for a less of a market value on a lot of things. So until they reach a certain point, and then 2-3 years down the road, then it becomes a whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, unless it's a situation where you're going to
it's not like it was 3 years ago.
Yeah. And it's kind of also like that goes into like my situation where I'm constantly recycling things, because if it's a situation where I need to pay off new pre-orders, it makes it more difficult, because if it's something new that I may not have like been as into, it's not worth as much, and it's harder for me to move it versus something older that I might really like, and that might actually be worth something. Especially with Mafex, like there was a period of time where like the pre-orders would be sold out. So if you didn't get pre-ordered, you're paying almost double day one when it ships. And now, because of all the constant looming like concern of re-releases and just the mass amount that they're putting out in general, when they do ship things, you're lucky if you can sell them for retail. So it's definitely affecting like all the markets already. It's not something that's gonna happen. It's happening. Also,
I was just gonna say, we could see that in the current HasLabs, because a lot of people are thinking that they're gonna instantly make money, and now people are selling them for either the same amount or less.
Yeah.
So,
which is my one hesitation about getting the helicopter, is because I don't care about the figures, and I'm afraid that like I won't be able to move them for anything.
I still think you'll be able to move those figures, but it would be the helicopter itself that I'd be concerned about.
But that's the thing I want.
That's the thing you want. So,
but yeah. So also another thing is, he does realize that me and Jarmar aren't Gen Z, right? Like we lived, we may not have been a part. Yeah, we may not have been a part of the comics crash, but we lived through it. We were alive.
It's like, well, never mind. That's a bad joke. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, we discovered that. Nah, never mind. I'm not gonna make the joke. We'll keep it going. I'll tell you off here.
I have a feeling it was probably the same joke I was gonna make and then decide not to. It's about remembering something, isn't it?
Oh God, it is.
Yep,
I remember now what you were referring to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, we definitely we were alive. My comic collecting consisted of like the handful of Return of Superman and Batman comics that I had, and then eventually, I don't think I started reading Marvel until closer to when the first like Civil War hit.
Wow.
I think I had some Spider-Man stuff and maybe some X-Men, but I was more of like a cartoon kid for that versus like comics with DC. But yeah, so he brought up some great points. That's another thing I actually didn't even think about, because it's been so long since I've done the rotation. Because when I was in Arizona, I had a huge closet, so there was a point where I'd rotate things around. I'd change up the displays, and like that would be my way around my rule of like, well, if it's sitting in there for a prolonged period of time, I'm clearly not enjoying it, it's time for it to go. Was like, oh, well, it's not sitting there for a long period of time because it's just on like a 1, 2, 3 month rotation, whatever. But I don't do that anymore, so it's becoming more common that I'm just like, well, gots to go, got to make room for new stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to
rotate things because you guys just have everything out.
Yeah. The one thing I would add, if there was like an easier, I don't know, you guys are gonna say, oh, you could do this. If there was like an easier way to sell my things, I probably would.
There is, but you don't like it.
What is it?
Facebook Marketplace. There's Facebook groups for literally every type of action figure that you can join, and it's super easy to fucking sell stuff on them. That's how Nate knows that I'm selling things, because he always sees me in the Facebook group selling things.
I guess if I could get more involved in that, that would also help. eBay is like, nah, I'll just keep it for all of that. It's
eBay, eBay is my last resort. Like, if it's something that I legit, it was like maybe worth some money, and I'm like, I don't want it anymore, or I'm trying to like use it to fund something else, then I'll consider eBay if it's not selling on the Facebook groups. But I avoid eBay like the plague unless I'm just buying something, so they take too much in the fees anymore.
Right.
Because they charge fees for both the combined shipping and the item now. So like by the time you get your money from them, you're getting less than what the listing was, and that's including, and you still have to pay for shipping. So it's like, well, what's the fucking point in that?
There is none. But yeah,
there's not. But yeah, so anything else before we close out?
No.
No, I don't have any.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you can look forward to when me and Nate go and rearrange Jarmar's toy room and reorganize all his accessories. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it and subscribe. Let us know in the comments below what you do when you realize you have, you're running out of room and have too many toys. Or do you just don't think there's such thing as having too many toys, which realistically, I agree there's not, but my studio room disagrees with that statement. You can also check us out Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. You can get a bunch of different shirts, notebooks, stickers, coffee mugs, all sorts of stuff with our logos, all the inside jokes from the live streams and stuff at tpublic.com/Modern Toy Fair, including the Neck Illuminati shirt that you see there on Jarmar. And if you are a fan of the channel and would like to gain some fancy rewards, such as getting to see this podcast early, getting exclusive podcasts every month, and even getting physical prints of the photos I take for the reviews, you can head over to patreon.com/Modern Toy Fair. We've got a bunch of different tiers, different options, different price points of different rewards. So check it out. Link will be in the description below. You can check Jarmar out over at metal.tv/Jarmar Games. Nate, what you got?
We got a new show coming out right here on this YouTube channel. It's going to be called Bidet Bros, where the three of us sit around and we review the different bidet attachments that you can buy currently on Amazon. We'll even review them right there on the show so you can see our faces, and you'll understand why we're so cool and confident.
I just love that no one's going to understand what that's coming from.
Oh, that's true. That wasn't on the episode.
That wasn't on the episode at
No,
all.
it wasn't.
But yeah.
Just remember,
that's for us.
Best bang for your butt.
Because of a bidet. Hopefully we see you next week. Same toy time, same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.